Life is good, Jack.
I hope it lasts forever.
Let's watch a sitcom or something.
No! They're calling it the airborne toxic event.
We won't come this way.
Will we have to leave our home?
Of course not.
How do you know?
I just know.
Okay, what if it's dangerous?
Evacuate all places of residence.
What you just saw was a trailer for a Netflix film that was released late 2020 called White Noise. Now, this particular film is all about a small town in and around Palestine, Ohio, in which a train was derailed, and that train carried hazardous materials that impacted the entire town. Why is that important? Because right now, nearly the exact same thing just months later is happening in Ohio, and more specifically in Palestine, Ohio. Is it just one big fat conspiracy that this movie knew in advance what was going to happen? Or did some crazy lunatic decide to use that movie and derail some trains in and around the area? Or is there more to the story? Well, in today's broadcast, I'm not only going to get into that, but I'm also going to get into the details of what's truly going on and how Pete Buttigieg, the Biden administration, and the mainstream media are all purposefully ignoring this story and telling everybody not to worry, everything is safe. Meanwhile, animals are literally dying all over the place. And if animals are dying, what kind of hazards is that going to have on the human body? But before I go on, just a reminder, check out my sponsor, Lower Carbs with Lisa. Without them, I would not be here on this channel. So please check them out. It's a high protein breakfast smoothie. It really boosts your metabolism, increases your energy, and really curbs those food cravings that you have. And by the way, it's got a 60-day money-back guarantee. So check it out at lowercarbswithlisa.com and take advantage of up to 51% off. And you want more information, click that more button or click in the description box below. All right, so let's dive into first this Netflix film called White Noise. And I want to take you, unfortunately, to Wikipedia. But here's what it says about the film. It says, White Noise had its world premiere at the 79th Venice International Film Festival on August 31st, 2022, and was released in select cinemas on November 25th, 2022, before its streaming release on December 30th by Netflix. Now, a little added information on this is that it was adapted from the 1985 novel with the same title by Don DeLelio. If I'm butchering that, I apologize. But anyway, we know that this was adapted from a novel back in 1985, and then they published the movie in November, December of last year. And yet here we are just a couple months later, and we've got nearly the exact events playing out in the exact same surrounding area as the film. This screams that there's more to the story for me. Maybe it's just a coincidence, but here's kind of a detail of what's going on. And by the way, my hearts and prayers are right now. I have been praying for you guys and praying for everyone involved in this. And I've been holding the story for a couple days because I really wanted to get all the information and details to you correctly and all the updates. But I am really praying for everyone involved in this. But I've got a good layout of what's going on. Take a look at the zerohedge.com article. Get the hell out of there. And I say amen to that. Ohio's apocalyptic chemical disaster rages on. The chaos began early last week when a train of more than 100 cars derailed in East Palestine, Ohio, near the state's border with Pennsylvania, roughly 5,000 residents. The accidents launched 50 of those 100 freight cars from the tracks. 20 of the freight cars on the train were carrying hazardous materials, 10 of which were derailed while the accident had no fatalities. Of those 10 cars, 5 contained pressurized vinyl chloride, a highly flammable carcinogenic gas. And by the way, that's not the only carcinogenic style gas that was in there. I'll get in that in a moment. But it goes on to state this. The Ohio Emergency Management Agency executed its plan of ventilating the toxic gas with a controlled burn in order to evade an uncontrolled explosion, which presented the risk of catastrophic damage. Quote, within the last 2 hours, a drastic temperature change has taken place in a rail car, and there is now the potential of catastrophic tanker failure, which could cause an explosion with the potential of deadly shrapnel traveling up to a mile. Governor Mike DeWine warned in a statement explaining the decision to take action and avert widespread disaster. However, that operation sent large plumes of smoke containing vinyl chloride, phosphagen, hydrogen chloride, and other gases into the air as flames from the controlled burn raged on for days. Phosphagen, in particular, is a highly toxic gas that can cause vomiting and respiratory trouble. The toxicity of phosphagen gas is so potent that it was previously used as a chemical weapon during the First World War. It goes on. The hazard airborne chemicals prompted officials to issue mandatory evacuations and shelter-in-place orders within a 1-mile radius of where the train derailed. Those orders forced nearly 2,000 residents of East Palestine out of their homes. Despite the risk, about 500 people within the parameters of the evacuation refused to leave their home. However, the orders were listed February 8th, allowing them back into their homes. Now, I am going to show you some of the footage here of their quote-unquote control burn. You can see it's burning there, and it's kind of like a repeat throughout that. And all that smoke and junk is just really filling the air. There's a lot of gas in there. I'm going to show you some pictures on all of that. But let me just put it bluntly. I think it's very potential that their solution of, of control burning may have just made matters far, far worse, because now we've got animals dying all over the place, from fox to fish to dogs. All these things are being posted. And, the residents in the area, the place where the animals are dying have now expanded not only 1 mile, but 5 miles, by even up to 10 miles. If that is doing this right now to our animals, what the heck is it doing to the human body? Now, here is what Sil Caggiano, a hazardous materials specialist, had to say about the event. And by the way, here are the other carcinogens or other hazardous gases that were involved in that as well. Take a listen.
We now know 3 more chemicals that were on board the Norfolk Southern train that derailed here in East Palestine just over a week ago. And we're being told that some of those chemicals are dangerous.
We basically nuked a town with chemicals so we could get a railroad open.
The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency sent a letter to Norfolk Southern stating that ethylene glycol monobutyl ether, ethylexyl-acrylate, and isobutylene were also in the rail cars that were derailed, breached, or on fire.
So according to the hazardous material specialist, they literally nuked an entire town to open up a railroad. We are talking about, because of the way that it transpired, I think there could have been a way better way to handle this than put a control burn and put everything in the air. But I digress. Right now, because of all of that and because of the situation, we are experiencing one of the biggest, if not the biggest, potentially environmental disaster that we have ever had in the United States of America. And by the way, those aren't the only materials. The EPA put out a list of all the hazardous materials that are out there. And here it is. EPA released train manifest with complete list of chemicals. And here's the list of chemicals. I'm not going to read them all for you, but you can see vinyl chloride there and some of the other ones. Some combustible ones as well, but the same one she mentioned in the video as well. But the one she mentioned in the video as well can cause all kinds of respiratory problems. It can cause dizziness, fatigue, these kinds of things as well, not to mention vomiting and all of that. So if I were in the area, I would personally get the hell out of the area until the stuff is cleaned out of the air. And by the way, here's some footage of how thick that air is there that people are breathing in, and you can see it's really heavy. That's not just normal clouds. That is from what is going on. And by the way, just lots of stuff happening there. And speaking of animals, let's go through some of the animals that have been reported as dead in this thing, because I also think that that's very important. Here's a couple of updates on that. Dead fish are being pulled from the river outside East Palestine, Ohio. You can see here, they're working in the river here, and I'm just going to show you a little clip here of that. And by the way, thousands of fish have been reported taken out of some of these lakes. At least that is the number I'm being told. Also here's more on the fish. There are reports of dead fish in rivers and creeks 5 miles away from the train derailment, and not just dead fish. We also have Amanda Bershurst, who found her chickens dead 10 miles from East Palestine, 10 miles away. That's not all, but we also have Taylor, a fox keeper, who is reporting one of his foxes have died. The other one is fairly swollen and all of that. And who knows the status on the other fox as of right now. We also have people complaining in the area. A former resident of East Palestine says it is so much worse than the media is telling you. And by the way, the media is being utterly silent. And then we also have a Facebook update yesterday from a Darlington, Pennsylvania kennel owner. Says after 20 minutes outside, they had horrible headaches, runny nose, burning, swollen eyes, pulsating eye sockets, itchy throat, and coughing. After evacuating 30 dogs and 9 horses, the owner says they are staying evacuated until testing can be done on the air, soil, and well water to make sure that they are safe. Bottom line here is that this poor air quality is being presented, the poor water quality is being presented, and I do believe these are going to cause potential short and long-term health effects. In fact, the EPA has a liability letter that they sent to Norfolk. Here it is here. And the EPA's liability letter sent to Norfolk Southwest Railway Company on February 10th, cars containing vinyl chloride and all of these other hazardous materials are known to have been and continue to be released to the air, into the soils, and into the waters. So here where they actually admit, according to the EPA, that all this stuff can affect soil, air, and water. On top of that, we also have the CDC medical guidelines. If you've been exposed by this vinyl chloride, they actually say that it can cause health hazards, health issues, and impacts. And some of those, and I'm going to go down here. Are there any future health effects? It says a single small exposure from which a person recovers quickly is unlikely to cause delayed or long-term effects. Exposure to vinyl chloride over many years can affect the liver, nervous system, and skin. Long-term exposure can cause a rare form of liver cancer. Now, what they don't really address is if it's high all at once, what on earth are those repercussions going to have on the human body? And it's downright terrifying. This is a disaster. This is a cataclysmic style apocalyptic event that's breaking out, and the mainstream media is dead silent. In fact, something else that I want to show you is this video that was put out on TikTok, and he claims to be some kind of expert. I don't know exactly what he is on that, but he talks about how vinyl chloride can cause, I guess, acid in the rain. Take a listen to this clip here.
Now, this crash in Ohio has 5 train cars. These kinds of tanker cars can carry between 25 and 33,000 gallons. Let's call it 250 to 250,000 pounds of vinyl chloride. That's per train car, 5 train cars. There's maybe 1 million pounds of this toxic chemical spilling into the ground and also boiling off into the air. But then it caught on fire. I think this is where the reporting is really bad, because no one is mentioning what the byproduct of vinyl chloride burning is. Of the many byproducts of burning vinyl chloride, one of them is hydrogen chloride. Hydrogen chloride is really unstable and latches onto water, like just water vapor in the atmosphere, and that turns into hydrochloric acid. So right now, government officials from the railroad, both the governor of Pennsylvania and Ohio, are calling burning off the 1 million pounds of this stuff a success, but not mentioning that it means that we have hundreds of thousands of pounds of acid in the air, potentially.
There you have it. Hundreds of thousands of pounds of acid in the air, potentially, but they're calling this some kind of victory. Mike Keister, I don't know about you, but they lie, and they lie often. They lied about Russia and the collusion with Donald Trump. Oh, by the way, they lied about the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. Did a report on that on Restricted Republic. If you're not there, you got to get there, right? They lied about, everything surrounding a lot of other stuff. I mean, I could go on and name hundreds of things. And here's what else they're not telling you, is this is also impacting, obviously, the water supply, the Ohio River there. A water source, by the way, that is the source for 10% of us here in the United States. And now it has vinyl chloride in our water supply. And let me just throw up a map so you could see where this goes from. It goes from Pennsylvania all the way down through Ohio. There we have Indiana, Kentucky, Illinois there. This is the water supply that has now been contaminated. What are the repercussions of that? Are we going to have some kind of issues down the road where an entire area just suddenly starts getting lung cancer or some kind of weird kind of hazard? We won't know quite yet. And the mainstream media is not saying any of this. I think if Donald Trump was the president right now, this would be all over the mainstream media. But since he's not, they're keeping it quiet. Where are the environmentalists? Where are the leftists and their outrage? It's nowhere to be seen. They just don't care, because all they care about is pushing a political agenda, and they don't care. This is the biggest environmental disaster that we have had in the United States of America. And again, we don't know the long-term effects. And yet, here we are. Now, just to give you an update on what they're claiming caused this, because there could be a lot of causes. They're still evaluating what was the cause. Right now, they're saying, or NTSB referenced a video from Salem, Ohio, saying, well, they showed, we saw sparks and flames coming from beneath the train. So they are claiming that it was some kind of structural issue, and it was all captured on security camera. And they've got this on two separate videos. But they're saying that, there was some kind of temperature that was rising in the train, and the train executed its emergency brake application, which caused the derailment. Now, one could ask, well, what caused the temperature change and the whole 9 yards? So they're still looking into the investigation of the whole thing. But either way, they're saying this could be a technical issue or some kind of just, normal structural issue. Which wouldn't surprise me, because we've got Pete Buttigieg on duty, who really doesn't care about anything other than making press conferences about, how there are too many white people. Take a look here. Pete Buttigieg has said nothing as of the making of this video about what's happening in Ohio. Pete Buttigieg doesn't mention Ohio derailment at conference, but finds time to say that there are too many white people working in construction. This man is an idiot, and he needs to get out immediately. But yet, we could potentially have some big issues here. And by the way, I don't know. I'm waiting for more information to come out regarding what really transpired. I hope not some lunatic out there set this off, or who knows? It could be an attack from Russia, China, or, who knows? I'm keeping my eyes open and watching this. Meanwhile, there have been 2 more train derailments, by the way. Take a look at gatewaypundit.com. Developing emergency officials responding to 2 more train derailments, one in South Carolina and another in Texas. And by the way, I believe those were also carrying some kind of quote unquote hazardous materials, but nowhere near the amount of devastation that we have seen here in Ohio. But either way, wanted to bring you the latest on all of that. I know I covered a lot in this report, but with that, get to restrictedrepublic.com. I can't stress this enough. They're kicking people off YouTube left and right. Get there. Get it for $4 a month. Use the coupon code FOREVER4. This is a huge way which you can just support me. Otherwise, we could just go MIA one day with the way YouTube is. I love all of you guys. Thank you so much for being here and supporting my channel. Anyhow, thanks again. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.